For more than 40 years, Robert W. Rebar has been instrumental in training thousands of reproductive health professionals. He has fostered a spirit of inquiry and collaboration among reproductive care professionals around the world.
The opportunities the learning opportunities working with Bob were fantastic. I also really learned about a work ethic from Dr. Rebar. He told me a story that he would sleep with a notebook by his bed because he'd wake up and be thinking about work and write those things down. And I do the same thing. It's an iPad now. It's not a notebook, but I get some really great inspirations at night and wake up because that's how Dr. Rebar told me to think about work all the time. I think that those opportunities are just fantastic. It was such a great opportunity to study under a giant like Dr. Rebar.
A couple of things I remember about Bob, and maybe I probably should have learned better. Bob had an interesting way of talking, and he'd talk at a certain level and then get really soft. And it made you really have to pay attention to what he was saying. And it was very effective at getting people to lean in and listen to what he had to say, which was often so much and so valuable.
I feel that Dr. Rebar's greatest characteristics is the fact that, at least I can say for me, he's been very patient. I think that he allows you to use your style and just sort of helps you to develop not only a clinical acumen, also an academic acumen. I would tell you that being his fellow for many years and being involved with the effect of stress and reproductive function early on in my career, he also helped introduce me to a number of people who at that time were big names in the field, and gotten to know them and still have a relationship with many of those people that I met when I was a fellow.
He was one of those people who had a depth of basic science knowledge, but also had a clinical skill that unfortunately we just don't teach doctors anymore. We're too busy with books and blood tests and MRIs, and we forget to look and talk to the patient in front of us. And so I think Bob's really the whole picture, the whole package, from basic science to clinic to clinical care to administration. He was one of or maybe the youngest chair in an OBGYN department in the country. He became the executive director of the American Society for Reproductive Medicine and changed the structure of that organization.
The characteristic that has made Bob Rebar world-renowned is his unflinching commitment to excellence and his devotion to making any organization that he works with the best in the field of reproductive medicine.
What makes Dr. Rebar deserving of a Lifetime Achievement Award is the fact that he has really contributed to our field in many, many ways. Not only training a huge crop of residents and fellows who have become very highly known reproductive endocrinologists. It's by myself as the now president-elect of ASRM, and Dr. Cedars, who's the current president of ASRM. Also, there are former fellows throughout the country and throughout the world in high-level positions. So I think that he is really was able to train people and put people into great places.
Professionally, Dr. Rebar was so dedicated to his work family, and to the profession in general. I mean, he's made so many important changes to how we think about reproductive medicine, both as a professor and as the director of ASRM. His greatest characteristics, I would say, are dedication, loyalty, focus. These are the things that really I've learned from Dr. Rebar, and I've truly tried to emulate throughout my entire career.
So Bob was a true classic bench researcher, scientist, clinician. But I think what I think about him most fondly for, and what I think is his greatest legacy, is people. Bob was always about people and how to get the best of the people underneath him. He was incredibly demanding, but only because he wanted you to be everything you could be. And if you look around the country today and you look at the people who were touched by Bob, who were trained by Bob, who were mentored by Bob, I think you would say that too, that his greatest achievement, despite his brilliance in science and medicine, was really the people who had the pleasure and the opportunity to learn from him.